recorded. If you could all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, I'd like to now introduce our board of directors. I'm Mike Rowley, joined by Tasha Woods, Jonathan Henderson, Madeline DeMatenon, Cindy Coe, and we're also joined by our superintendent, Ginger Haber, Executive Director of Finance and Operations, Kim Snyder, and Executive Director of Student Services, Kelly Krombauer, is online with us. Board, first action item is the consent agenda. We've had the opportunity to review these items individually and seek clarification from the district admin prior to the meeting. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Cindy has moved that we accept the consent agenda and Madeline has seconded. Call a vote or any discussion? Call a vote. Oh.
I'm chair. I just recognize that we have some people resigning.
Correct. Thank you. Yes, and I just want to thank the teachers for their service to the district, to the students and the families of Ellensburg. Thank you guys for the many years that you have put in with Ellensburg School District. So. All right, Cindy made the motion to accept the consent agenda. Madeline seconded. I'll call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Consent agenda has passed. All right, Ginger, that takes us to administration and your superintendent update.
So I want to start out with a celebration that while Leslie puts my slides up, we just had a rather extensive review done called a comprehensive plan and review by the Office of Civil Rights, OSPI. It's a required review that's done every few years. It's very extensive. It involves a lot of the things that we monitor as part of our equity policy get monitored in that CPR review. And I just really want to celebrate Kelly Krombauer and his leadership in really looking at it. He had just done this type of review in Chelan, and he really was a genius the way he put the divided it up into different areas that different people worked on. And Jen Kuntz also put a lot of time and effort into it, especially in what we're doing for multilingual learners and all of their work they've been doing around dual language. Our principals did an awesome job of pulling together the data they needed. And we just finished up that CPR review, and we really were in good shape with it. There's a few action items that we need to put in place, but nothing that was major. So just huge kudos to especially to Kelly and Jen and Gemma, who really spearheaded and did a lot of research and putting that together. It's a huge celebration. Not something I could figure out with pictures to put on a slide. So, all right, next slide, please, Leslie. So we just had some amazing things going on across the district, and I really want to highlight Leslie. She not only got pictures from Facebook and from websites, but actually went to some of these different events too to take pictures. She does a great job as our district photographer. So it just gives you, these slides just give you a great feeling of all the great really does happen here in Ellensburg School District. And so here are some of the celebrations. Lincoln fourth graders visiting the Central Washington Agricultural Museum. Lincoln second graders went over to the west side to visit the Seahurst Park in Burien to learn more about marine life. Next slide. Fourth graders got a chance at Ida, got a chance to go up to the wind farm. And then third grade at Lincoln had a chance to go to the fire station and learn about fire and medical safety. There was a parent who also worked for the U.S. Forest Services, Tony Smith, and so some fourth grade students from Ida had a chance to go out in the wilderness and learn about survival skills, outdoor safety, fire prevention, and just the importance of taking care of our environment. And a shout out to the Daily Record and to Caleb Sprouse. I think he did a nice article on this in his article around the Lincoln Elementary fifth grade students doing a Zoom session with award-winning author Dan Gernhardt, and really huge shout out to our librarian Tony Phelps, just really highlighting the importance of reading and celebrating different authors and their ability to help us understand the many different perspectives that there are within our world. We also have, we're really building leadership skills. We have Ren Siriallo, and actually I ran into Ren's parents when I was in the airport. And they were telling me all about Ren and his amazing work in robotics, and then said that he was going down on a routine basis to mentor students at Lincoln with building up the robotics club. So I thought, well, we need to feature Ren. So there he is helping Lincoln students, and Ren is a Morgan middle school student. And then our EHS golf team stopped by Morgan to get that next generation of golfers started and helping them to learn how to golf. Lots of barbecuing going on at the different elementary schools. And I know some of you board members were able to attend some of those events. So would any of you like to share out your experience with the barbecues or what you had a chance to see?
It was super exciting and the food was great and our lunch staff is absolutely incredible. Our nutritionists and everyone moving through there. And I think my fourth grader hit the point where she's like, you can sit near me, but I'm not actually going to talk to you. So I was like, what? We've hit this point. So I embarrassed her and talked to everyone else around me. So.
And thank you. I see Alexandra is here, and we have such an amazing food services. And while you're here, Alexandra, thank you so much. And we have a slide for the senior breakfast too. That was phenomenal. And I know that you helped out to support the barbecues too. So we just have an amazing district. Keep going there for us. This is really fun. The students at Ida at the end of field day, the fire department came and let loose the water. And Leslie had a chance to snap this picture. And she said with the wind blowing, it was more like a hurricane out there, but the kids were having fun in the water. And then of course they did their fun run at Lincoln. And then graduation was awesome. And we had a chance, Tasha and I had a chance to see Haley Boychuk today, who's the mastermind behind organizing graduation. And she did a phenomenal job. Graduation went very smoothly. We got a few drops of rain, but not like a soaking like we got last year. So it was just a beautiful ceremony. And again, thank you, Alexandra, to you and your team for the senior breakfast. And I think we have, and there's some great shots for Morgan, or I mean for graduation. And yes, we even got the fireworks going, which was awesome at the end. And I know, Leslie, you were going to put in some, maybe some pictures. We'll have it in your schools. Morgan Middle School did a phenomenal job putting on a luau for their students. So we'll be sure to put some of those pictures in the, we do have a June Your Schools that Leslie are going to work hard to get out by the end of this week. We'll put some of these same photos in there. But just a lot to celebrate here in Ellensburg. Proud to be a Bulldog.
Thank you, Ginger. Board, any discussion or any questions for an update? Again, thank you, Ginger. It's lots of celebrations at the end of the year, so it's fun to see all the photos and staff and kids having fun, so. All right, that takes us into business. Board, first up, item A is the approval of the contract for Troy Turnow, selected interim superintendent for the 2023-2024 school year. Is there any discussion?
I move that we accept the contract for Troy Turnow, the interim superintendent for the 23-24 school year.
I second.
Tasha has moved that we accept the contract for Troy Turnow, and Jonathan has seconded. Call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Contract approved for Troy. Welcome aboard, Troy. All right, Ginger, do we have Damon, or did you have an update for
We
Damon?
have Stacy Seawall here. Stacy has been an amazing partner. She partnered with Damon, especially for Lincoln and the remodel of Lincoln. And it's just really a huge celebration. We have permanent occupancy now for all of our buildings. And when you think about the last few years, having to build through COVID, this is a huge, huge celebration for our district. And it really, I say kudos to the board for your support, for OAC, amazing partner, Garco, Integris Architecture, the principals, we partnered with teachers, with Classified, all of us really coming together. We know we added the fourth school. We had to change to a tiered transportation system. We had to do the tenant sense. So we had to do a lot of changes were involved also in putting, especially opening up IDA. So it's just a huge celebration that these schools are built, that our students are actively enjoying them. It's so fun to see them out in the courtyard. If you haven't had a peek yet out the window, the beds, the garden beds are out, and I think the strawberries are gone nuts out there, and there's more different kinds of plants that are growing. And it's so fun to see students really enjoying these learning spaces and fully implementing everything that we started to dream about way back in the design phase. So, and Stacy, just thank you really to you and to Damon and the whole OAC team for being such excellent project managers. Our buildings were actually done ahead of time and still within budget.
Thanks,
So
Ginger.
Stacey, didn't mean to steal your thunder. I'm just super excited
You
about
hit
it
all the
all.
bullet points. Ginger provided my update. Thanks for having me. Stacy Schul, a colleague of Damon's. I was involved with the projects really in construction. And I'm also a local. I've got kids in the district, so super fun to be a part of it. And echo your comments about just really fun to watch the kids enjoy the spaces. So like Ginger said, permanent occupancy on all the schools, which was a little challenging at times. So we're super excited to have that box checked, and really that marks substantial completion. We're done with these projects. Obviously, we're occupying one of them at the moment. Lincoln is also, just almost there. One thing on that one, there'll be an 11, or I guess two things. 11-month warranty walk will happen in August. So that's, just 1 month before we get to the 12 months where the warranty period is. So if there's anything that we need to have Garco come back and take care of, we'll have them come in and do that. And then there's a commissioning report that will come to you for your approval. Right now, it's kind of, we're unsure of when it's coming through. There's some challenges with Siemens, kind of related to the supply chain and, you know, the downstream of the many effects of COVID. And, you know, to Ginger's point, building these schools through COVID on time and on budget, just huge success. Like it wasn't an easy thing to do. So it was great to have all of the partners that we did to make that happen. So I think that was all I had. Thank you.
Just a sincere thank you from the board. As one of the few people there from somewhat at the beginning of people saying, well, this is where the property is. And then they'd say things like northwest, southeast. I was like, wait, what was that? To all of a sudden, like sitting in a building that is built. And just, I think it is my only public works project I've ever been a part of on this, and just the challenges of that. And then the challenges of everyone rising to the occasion during COVID, and that Ellensburg has this on time and beautiful on budget is absolutely extraordinary. So thank you for all of your work on that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stacy. And the fact that we don't have to say at every board meeting, we're close.
Yeah.
We're close. We have permanent occupancy of all schools. We are done, and that is great. So. All right, that takes us on to item C, review of the minimum basic education survey.
Again, board, this is just a requirement by OSPI to know that you've had a chance to review it. So if you just wanted to see if you had any questions about it. If not, then it's just acknowledging that it was on the agenda and you had a chance to review it.
Any questions, discussion?
I did review it. Is that what we need to be on record for saying? I did.
All right, I think we're good on that one for now. That takes us to Kim and the finance report.
So tonight I'm going over May 2023 financial report update. The general fund is on target at 69.7% of expenditures and 72.03% of revenues. It's 9 months into the year and should be projected as around 75%. In May of 2022, the expenditures came in around 67%, and revenue came in around 72%. So we're right in there. But when we're comparing this to May of 2022, we are still spending about $3.3 million more than last year. The unassigned fund balance equates to approximately 12.51% after considering fund balance restrictions and assignments, which is the primary indicator of the district financial status. And there were no discrepancies between Kittitas County Treasurer's report and the trial balance for the general funds. The capital project fund revenue came in at 34.09% of budget and 21.16% for expenditures. The fund balance is at approximately $3 million that consist of state match, tech levy, and assigned funds to support other capital projects. And there were no discrepancies between Kittitas County trial report and the trial balance. And the debt service fund revenue came in at 98% and 81% for expenditures. We just made a payment in June for interest, our last interest payment for the year. And there were no discrepancies between Kittitas County Treasurer's report and the debt service fund trial balance. The ASB fund revenue came in at 56% of the budgeted revenues, and expenditures came in at 43%. Again, remember that ASB budget is for all possible fundraisers, so they budget quite a high amount for that. And there was no discrepancies between Kittitas County Treasurer's report and the trial balance. Private Purpose Trust Fund is not a budgeted fund. However, their fund balance does come in around $30,000 at the end of May. And there was no discrepancies between Kittitas County Treasurers and the Private Purpose Trust Fund trial balance. And Transportation Vehicle Fund came in at 5.94% for revenues and 17.64% for expenditures. We will be receiving our depreciation apportionment allotment in August. It's around a little over $400,000. So you will see that increase in revenue in August. We did receive another bus and we are paying for that in the June AP run. And then I would like to remind everyone that this report is presented with information I have currently and is subject to change as we continue through the year. I'd also like to remind everyone that revenue sources are used in their current funds for authorized expenditures and can't usually be transferred to be used in different funds unless authorized within adopted budget and within the accounting laws. Are there any questions?
Board, any questions? Thank you very much, Kim, again. All right, that takes us to an enrollment report and just Kelly have one for it.
Kelly, would you like to share the enrollment report with us?
Sure. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right, great. I'm trying to broadcast. Can you see that up on the screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, good evening. Let me jump. Yeah, let's jump to the 623 report. So as you can see, we've gone over this many times. The very top of this is the monthly enrollment report, which is done in FTE. So at the end or for the end of May or beginning of June, we have 3,128 students when it comes to full-time enrollment. And so, of course, we lose quite a few kids, or we have part-time students at Central, so that does reduce that amount. And then you can see our totals across all of our buildings. It looks like we're down approximately 10 kids from May. That's pretty common the last month of school. Some kids leave early, or we have lots of different reasons for why there would be a lower count, but it's pretty normal. So as you see down here, we ended the year with our Open Doors program with 9 students. This is actually, Open Doors is a graduation, a retention program. So it's for students who are, that they have dropped out of high school and they've returned and they're in the Yakima Valley Community College Open Doors program. So we have retrieved 9 of those kids, and that is a flow through like it is with Central Washington University and Running Start. We lose though all of these funds pretty much. So we have 9 kids at the end of the year. And as you see, we remain strong with 105 students attending Central and then 1 at Yakima Community College. If we take a look at the overarching enrollment comparison, you can see here that we are approximately 10 students down in June. And our target was 3,142 students. So obviously we came real close. We jumped above that a little bit, and then we kind of slowly trickled down. It is definitely our hope that next year we see improvements in our enrollment and that those numbers continue to grow. Any questions?
Board, any questions? All right, no questions, Kelly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, board, that takes us to item F, adoption of the health and sex education curriculum.
So board, this is, we shared a presentation about this at our last meeting, and we just had our study session around this. And so this now is up for formal adoption.
Board, is there any discussion or questions?
Can I first move to adopt the health and
Yes.
sex education curriculum?
And I'll second.
Cindy has moved that we adopt the health and sex education curriculum, and Tasha has seconded. Board, is there any question or discussion?
I would like to say that we've talked about this robustly in study sessions, and thanks to Jennifer Coons, our Director of Teaching and Learning. She has answered all of our questions, sometimes multiple times. And thank you for all of your work leading those committees and explaining to us what was coming out of it and creating those PowerPoint presentations.
I would just like to reiterate to the public, to the parents, that like our previous comprehensive sex education, there is an opt-out policy or opt-out possibility with any curriculum in the district. And so with the adoption of this, there would still be that option to opt out of any part or portion of the curriculum. I'll call a vote. Any other discussion first? Okay. I'll go ahead and call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Adoption of health and sex education curriculum is passed. All right, board, next up is the calendar for the 23-24 school year. You have a chance to look at that. Any questions? I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the proposed calendar for the 2023-2024 school year.
I second.
Jonathan has moved that we adopt the board calendar for the 2023-2024 school year, and Madeline has seconded. Board, any discussion? All right, call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Calendar for 2023-2024 is passed. Okay, board, next up is the donation fund for meal debt.
And Alexandra is here to just talk about that a little bit.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about the status of our district meal debt and a proposal for helping to address that. Oh, that's okay. To give you a little bit of background, we started accruing meal debt in 2018 with the implementation of Washington's no lunch shaming law. And we accrued debt pretty quickly. I want to say that first year that the law was in place, we ended the year around $6,000 or $7,000. Then, not too long after that, COVID hit. And during that time, we were able to pay off a lot of the debt, which had risen to about 12 or 13,000. And a lot of that was done through community recovery funds and different private donations. And so when students started the school year this year, everyone had $0 on their balance, which was amazing. And then we had several schools that operated CEP, or free meals for all. And so we really didn't see the debt start to climb until about October, when a lot of eligibility that was given a grace period for the first 6 weeks of the year started to fall off. And so since then, we've accrued quite a bit of debt, and there's a couple of different ways we could handle it. And we do have some district procedures around it, which we have written up and we share pretty regularly with our families. But my suggestion would be to implement some kind of donation procedure so that people and organizations who want to donate to that debt would have a pretty streamlined process for that. You can show the next slide, Leslie. This is where we're at. As of a few days ago, I sent out a very stern reminder to everyone yesterday to pay this before the school year ended. So it has dropped since then, which is great. I think we're hovering around 7,600. But it does show you here where the breakdown lands, first by student eligibility. So we do have some free and reduced students that have accrued a meal debt balance. And that happened when their previous eligibility or the grace period ended in October and they didn't turn paperwork in for a period of time. And during that time, they accrued debt. Once they requalify for free reduced meals, moving forward, they won't accrue any more debt, but qualifying does not automatically remove debt that might have accrued. The majority of the debt is held by students and families who qualify for paid meals. And so that 210 is the number of students that $8,000 can be attributed to. And then debt by school site breaks down our 3 paid schools, the ones who don't operate CEP, and where the majority of the debt kind of falls within those 3 schools. I do have a little asterisk there that that data is a little tricky only because it includes what are called shared family household accounts. And so at Valley View, it's counting a student, for example, that shares an account with their siblings at the middle and high school, and they might all share $100 in debt. That $100 will get added to each school. So when you add that debt up, it's a little higher. The true debt is going to be closer to the 8,700, but even less now. Do you want to show the next slide? This is our current approach to retrieving debt. So we send text messages via Parent Square on Monday to notify parents of their students' balance in real time. So we pull that immediately out of my point of sale system and send the text right away, which is great. And it's helped a lot. Then we also send out an email and a mail letter, depending on how people have set their preferences in Skyward, through Mealtime, which is my point of sale software. And we do that on Wednesdays to notify parents of their students' balance. And then we also send a letter home with students who have a balance of more than negative $15. And we do this through the teacher's inbox and ask them to send it home with the student, and it's discreet. They're in sealed envelopes just with the parent's name on them. And then we write the student's information on the outside, just their name, so the teacher knows who to send it home with. This is a lot, but I just wanted to put up here that we do have a process or procedure for accepting donations. And this is how we handled the donations that we received during the pandemic. Essentially, we divided each of our eligibility groups into group 1, 2, and 3. And so when we get donations, we apply equally first among students who qualify for free meals, but have a debt. And then we apply it among students who qualify for reduced price meals. And then after that, we would apply it to students who qualify for paid meals. And we do have some set dollar amounts, in part because there are families that might just always have kind of fluctuating amounts in their students' account. And so we're really focusing on those families, maybe $10 or more, or even more than $40 in debt, assuming that there's something more going on there. And it's not just the parent not getting to the software to put money in or to their school. And then in the next slide, so accepting donations for meal debt is actually pretty common for school districts that deal with this issue. These are a couple of examples from Tucson Unified School District and Edmonds School District. They have it set up through InTouch, and there's a link on all of their child nutrition website pages that families, organizations can click. And they can make a donation directly this way. We could also potentially accept donations by check or cash through schools, or sent directly to my office. But what I would really like to do in the fall is potentially draft a letter to maybe some local organizations in our community and just let them know what's going on. And as we're getting close to year end and places are looking to donate money, maybe just let them know that this might be a really great cause. And I'm really here tonight because I want you to know about this. And essentially, let me know what you think. So I want your approval and buy-in with this. So yeah, I think that's all. And if you have questions.
I guess my question would be, well, first of all, statement, we live in a very generous community. We have a lot of people that donate to a lot of items throughout the county and district and everything. I guess the clarification of if this fund were to grow to a certain extent, what would be done with those funds? Does it roll over? Does it, okay. Because I don't know how much, I mean, if we're talking about $8,000 for a school year, this is the end of the school year and there's about $8,000. What if it goes up to $25,000 donated or something like that? So it would roll over and, okay.
Yes, absolutely. So the debt will roll over as well as any donations. And I think at this point, it's probably safe to say we'll see, unless anything changes with legislation, that we'll probably see about $7,000 to $8,000 in debt each year at this point. I don't really see any other significant changes with our programming that would change that. And so what I would like is just to have a donation fund that always exists. And then maybe by July, at that point, when the funds have kind of stagnated for the year, they're not going to be getting any bigger at that point because we're out of school, analyze how to distribute those at that point for the previous school year.
Can you tell us what happens to this unpaid debt if it's not covered by donations?
Sure. Technically, well, so I think it was in 2020, we updated our meal debt procedure to include involving collections for unpaid debt that was over -$40. We never implemented that because we went into the pandemic shortly after that. And I don't think anyone really felt very good about sending people to collections during the pandemic. And then we also had all of the debt paid off, which was great. And so we really haven't had to deal with it yet, to be honest, but technically that's what's in our procedure.
And is this the current debt, the roughly $8,000, is that rolled over from year past, or that's just this year's lunch?
Just this year's lunch.
Board, this is an action item.
I just wanted to clarify from the student's point of view, is there any way that they're impacted by that debt? I mean, they're still served a meal. As you were talking about, there's a sort of confidential letter that nobody else can tell, you know, like if it gets to the point of a letter being sent home, that's what it contains.
It doesn't really impact a student because of the law that Washington passed. We're not allowed to deny students meals or provide alternate meals. And even parents who call in occasionally to ask us to put a restriction on their students' account, we really can't turn a student away in the lunch line. So students don't generally feel the impacts. However, I do have to say the older students are more aware of their debt, a lot of times because it impacts their a la carte purchasing abilities. So students who have negative meal balances can't use their account to charge snacks. We do allow them to use cash. So if they have like an allowance or their own money, we let them pay for snacks with cash. So they're a little more aware. And there is a computer. So we use a point of sale system. Their current balance will show up on that screen, but it's facing the cashier and students really can't see it unless they ask. And if students ask what their debt is, we can tell them as well. Thank you.
Board, any other questions or discussion? Okay. Thank you, Alexandra.
As clarification, this is an action item.
It is listed as an action item, correct?
I move that ESD create a donation fund for meal debt.
I'll second.
Tasha has moved that the Ellensburg School District create a donation fund for meal debt, and Cindy has seconded. Board, any discussion?
I appreciate the way that this has been presented and bringing in examples from other districts that do that. And recognizing that students are in this unique situation where they're at school all day. They don't really have access to family accounts generally to deal with accounting, and that they are served a nutritious meal, and that for whatever reason, there is now an option for our community to support those that need it.
Okay, Tasha. All right, I will call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we'll create that. The Ellensburg School District will create a donation fund for meal debt. And that takes us on to proposed change to the June 28th board meeting.
So the proposed change and recommendation is to cancel the June 28th board meeting. Basically, Kim gave her finance report and we do the enrollment report that usually happens at the second meeting we're able to do during this meeting. There's really nothing pressing that I can think of at this point that we would need to put on for another meeting, unless you guys have had many meetings with the hiring of our new interim superintendent. So we're proposing that we cancel the June 28th meeting.
This is an action item, board. Entertain a motion.
I move that we cancel the June 28th meeting.
I second.
Cindy has moved that we cancel our June 28th board meeting. Jonathan has seconded. We do have a board meeting July, so
Yes,
we will
21st.
have one then. So any discussion, board? All right, call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Next board meeting is canceled. All right, board, that takes us into policy, and first up is the second reading of policy 4210, regulation of dangerous weapons on school premises.
And I went ahead and put the revised one that we worked on during the study session already in the board packet. So you should see it there. And just to read it aloud one more time. We did decide in the middle there to adopt the stricter requirements. And it now reads that it is the policy of the district, the presence of firearms and other dangerous weapons in the workplace or educational environment is to be minimized as much as possible. As such, the following activities are prohibited by this policy, regardless of whether such possession would violate state law and regardless of whether the weapon is secured in a vehicle or possessed by a person with a concealed weapons permit. Number one, no district employee may bring any firearm or dangerous weapon onto the district property without prior authorization of the superintendent and the school board on an annual basis. Number two, no person or entity renting, leasing, or otherwise being granted the right to temporary use of district property may possess or allow its guests to possess firearms or dangerous weapons on district premises. This provision does not extend to property rented or leased as a personal domicile. And then number three, the superintendent will communicate on a regular basis to parents, students, and the community regarding the carrying of concealed weapons by authorized personnel. And then the change that's required by WASDA is at the bottom if you click on the red mark there. And it's just also some changes in language. So thanks. Thanks. So this one we're recommending for adoption with these changes.
I move that we adopt policy 4210.
I second.
Tasha has moved that we adopt policy 4210 and Jonathan had seconded. Board, any discussion?
I want to thank Mr. Muster for coming and answering questions and being able to wrestle with this policy. It was invaluable.
Yeah, it definitely helped to clarify a lot of things. So thank you to Neil, Mr. Musser, for attending our study session and clarifying those. All right, board,
Sorry.
I will call, oh, yes.
I'll just say that I think we have set ourselves now the task of trying to figure out at what point we would authorize, or in conjunction with the superintendent, we would authorize the use of concealed weapons. And so that conversation will once again renew the advantages and disadvantages of having those weapons or not on school premises.
Yes, thank you, Cindy. Yeah, we discussed in the study session that we would have further discussion about this, and so. All right. I will call a vote. Board, all those in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Policy 4210 has passed. That takes us on to a second reading of policy 6815, advertising on district district property.
This is the second reading. We had it up for discussion at the previous board meeting and just recommend this policy because I think it will add a lot of clarity and consistency across the district as far as what type of advertising is allowed. And put some nice guidelines in place. So recommendation is adoption.
Or I would entertain a motion.
We move that we adopt policy 6815.
I'll second.
Tasha has moved that we adopt policy 6815. Cindy has seconded. Board, any discussion? I will call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Policy 6815 has passed. And it takes us on to the next policy, second reading of policy 6111 regarding tuition.
So board, this is a second reading of this policy. It's one that we already had in place with just some added language to align better with law. So it's a recommendation to adopt.
Board, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to adopt policy number 6111.
I second.
Cindy has moved that we adopt policy 6111. Jonathan has seconded. Any discussion, board? I will call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, policy 6111 has passed. That takes us into board reports. I don't have an extensive board report. The only thing I can say is that with the next board meeting being canceled, this is Ginger's last board meeting with us. And I just want to extend another big thank you for all that you've done for the district. I know you've been here 5 years. I've only been on the board for 2 years, and it has been a pleasure getting to work with you with regards to the district and stuff like that. And I know that you're excited for your new endeavor. And so again, I just want to thank you for the previous 5 years that you've given to the students and families of the district and the staff, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. It's just been a real privilege and an honor to serve this community and this district, and just appreciate you as a board. It's been a real pleasure to work with you, and I'm excited about the great work that will continue.
Well, there wasn't any way I wasn't going to not say something. So we all know that. But who knows what I'm going to say, because I couldn't even put it into words, because it has been 5 years. Sometimes it has felt like 50 years. And so all in good faith. But some of the things that I want to extend my thankfulness and gratitude for is that under your leadership, we passed a bond the first time for these new schools. And that was sort of unheard of in Ellensburg. And it was with reticence that we were moving in that direction. We were also able to pass that levy, which was difficult, but it took a lot of collaboration and communication to get that to go through. And as we celebrate tonight, we now have 2 new beautiful schools that got us started on conversations of outdoor learning and garden spaces and Ida, Nason, Aronica, and so many other instructional things that were offshoots from these dreams. And 1 renovated school, and we have permanent occupancy, which is amazing because for a long time I learned how to spell and say the word queuing. Some of the other wonderful things, you stepped into policy review. We kind of joined the board at the same time, and I wasn't quite sure what that meant, and was sort of it was a long time for that policy review to go through and do all those policies. You brought things into our districts. MTSS is here because of you and your leadership. MAPS, nationally normed benchmark assessments, hearing common formative assessments. PLC strengthened with Solution Tree, and those are all huge initiatives that in 5 years during COVID you brought in and led. Those were just the beginning of the district being able to use data to inform instruction and support for students, which now allows and centers all of our students and provides strategies. I had to write some of this down because that centers all students and ensures that ESD believes that all students can achieve and experience success when there's a high expectation and relevant resources and opportunities. And those are just some of the resources that you brought into our district. COVID came with all of its challenges and celebrations. But in the midst of all that, when we were seeing disruptions across the world and disruptions within our community, you had a sense of calm and research and methodical behavior and belief in community that we were going to get through this, and there were going to be challenges, but we were going to have the celebrations too. And some of those celebrations were, we were one of the first districts to have all students in hybrid learning. And that was a challenge and a celebration. Student voice, student senate, the students who have gone through and been student board reps, the different ways that you have centered that and just help them find their voice and to be civically engaged in a very uncivil time. Community committees, so many community committees. I can't even begin to describe it, like boundaries, tiered busing, budget, and student learning. And the fact that all of this was happening during COVID in very uncivil times really is extraordinary. And really, we have to keep in mind that was within 5 years that all of these changes came to the district. I have deeply appreciated you, and I have learned from you. Yes, and no, I just had to do that. I don't have anything after that, but I have definitely learned that phrase. Yes, Tasha, and one of the very many book studies that you led in this district, Brene Brown. I'm going to choose because you then became certified as you do. Like, I think I'm just going to become certified in this. I'm like, but you're running a district. So one of the Brene Brown quotes stuck out for me. We can choose courage or we can choose comfort, but we can't have both, not at the same time. You have shown our district and our community how to do that. And it has centered students, and I am forever grateful for that. Thank you.
All right, board, that takes us into public comment. Leslie, can you get us set up for public comment, please? All right, the board will allot up to 30 minutes as a total time allotted for public comment this evening, and each speaker will have up to 3 minutes of time. The board is not obligated to provide additional public comment time to accommodate everyone in attendance. The board is not obligated to respond to questions or challenges made during the public comment period. The board's silence will not signal agreement or endorsement of any speaker's remarks. In my capacity as board president, I may terminate an individual's remarks when the allotted time has passed. I may also interrupt or terminate any speaker who is making uncivil comments. Uncivil comments include but are not limited to obscene comments, comments that are defamatory toward another person, or commentary that is unwarranted invasion of privacy. The board reserves the right to have anyone removed who refuses to adhere to the rules and creates a material and substantial disruption of a meeting. Personnel matters are generally private and administrative in nature. Constructive criticism can be helpful. At the same time, the board has confidence in its staff and programs and will act to protect them from unwarranted criticism or disruptive interference. Complaints or concerns received by the board or any board member will be referred to the superintendent and will not be considered or discussed by the board in this setting. I'd ask that you respect staff members' privacy and consider putting any concerns you have in writing if they pertain to a personnel matter. The board can then review and forward those to an appropriate administrator. Leslie, are we ready for public comment? Yes, sir. Individuals in person wishing to be heard by the board need to be signed up to speak, and those on Zoom need to add their names to the document in the Zoom chat box. If you are unable to do this, individuals may also be recognized within Zoom by using the icon or emoji to show that you are raising your hand for public comment. Once the board chair calls on an individual, they will identify themselves by stating their name and address for the record. Individuals will proceed to make comments within the 3-minute time limit. If an individual wants a request or response from the board, this may be possible by submitting this request in writing or email to the board. To board@esd401.org. Leslie will begin with those attending in person.
Hi, my name is Olivia. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. And just being here and watching each and every one of you work just makes me proud to know that I live in the community of Ellensburg and that my children attend your school. As a former high school graduate from Ellensburg myself, one of the concerns that I just wanted to bring up, in my personal opinion and for my children who have attended the school, is creating a safe and positive environment for children who do not agree with the certain agendas that are happening in school. And so I currently have a son who graduated from high school and 2 more children who are going through the high school. And one of the things that they have brought up to me is that they feel like they don't have a safe place to go, where they don't feel like they are bombarded with current movements that are happening, and they would like to have a safe place where they can go and talk to people without feeling like they're going to be reprimanded or they're going to be looked at differently if they do not agree. To start with, I am not here to judge anyone. I am not here, my opinion about other people is not the point. The point is creating a safe environment. There is an area where my children feel like they're not able to walk through the school without being bombarded with signs of the LGBT movement. And like I said, I'm not here to judge other people, the decisions that they're making. I'm just here representing my children who have come to me several times, making statements that they feel like they're being bombarded, where everything is being pushed on them and they don't feel like they have a voice to stand for themselves, in fear of retaliation or in fear that they're going to be looked at differently if they do not agree with somebody else. They are not judging other people. They just want to create a safe place where they feel like they can speak up and they can speak on their beliefs, and they can have a polite conversation with somebody and not feel like there's going to be retaliation if they don't agree with this political movement that is happening. So That is my concern today. I'm just bringing it to the board because I do feel like we have to make a stand for our children who feel like they do not have a voice in our schools. And just seeing if there's an opportunity to create a safe space where they can go, where they don't feel bombarded with all of this information on them all the time and feel like there's nowhere they can go. So thank you again for taking the time to listen to my concerns today. Again, what you guys are doing is great. I see that a lot of hard work goes into this, not just the meeting, but a lot of hard work goes into this outside of these meetings. So thank you again for taking time.
Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, we'll just give it a minute and. All right, well, go ahead and close public comment now. Takes us on to new business, proposed items for future consideration, board.
Chair and board, we were just able to go through all the graduation festivities, and it was amazing on every level to see students reach that achievement and to see family and community celebrate them. I am asking the board and chair to consider to do an audit of what Ellensburg High School requires for graduation requirements and what the state requires for graduation requirements. And so that we can look with urgency to see if there is a discrepancy there, see if there is a pathway, potentially the State Board of Education's always talking about pathways where we see if there's different choices or options for our students in the secondary.
Just to clarify, you're asking for a discussion about the graduation requirements and whether we, as the board, want to ratify or amend, change the current ones.
Is my understanding that currently we have more requirements that for graduation than the state requires?
On certain items, yes, I think you are correct.
Right, so I would like the board to have a discussion if we would like to maintain that or if we would like to revise that.
Any other proposed items for future consideration, board?
Didn't we just, sorry, on that, the permission to the officer, the resource officers and those who are reserve officers carrying, is that already on the agenda for next time or we kind of talked about it earlier? So just that.
Okay, so just to clarify, our further discussion about policy. Yes, I forget what number. 4210, the further discussion about reserve officers, admin, things like that. Okay. Yeah, you can. Yes, thank you, Jonathan. All right, board, anything else? Okay. That'll take us into meeting closing. Do we have an executive session tonight? Okay, thank you, Ginger. Board calendar. I think we're all thankful for having a little extended vacation. So, any questions about board calendar though? All right, clarification, next steps.
Just wanted to clarify, had the opportunity to meet with Troy a couple of times and so we started that transition and I'll meet with them again tomorrow. And just thank you, board, for what you shared and just want to thank all of you again, just for you truly are an amazing board. I think each one of you have a real heart for students and wanting the best for them. And it's just been a real privilege to be here. I'm feeling a little sad, and but I know that I'm excited to be with my family and to start a new adventure in a new place. But just know that I'm so grateful for all of you and just the work that we've done together. And, you know, together we're better. And all of those things that you shared, we were really able to accomplish because we have such a great team in the board with our amazing teachers and classified. I have an amazing cabinet. District staff. And actually, I was at KCHN. I was at the retreat this morning, and we were just reflecting on, even as a community, I had a chance to sit at Ridge Elliott's table, and we were thinking back to COVID times and just how quickly and how effectively we really pulled together as a community. And I really think Ellensburg is a special place. I think that people really want the very best for their community and especially for our children, our students here. So I'm excited for the next steps for ESD as well.
Thank you, Ginger. Board, any other clarification or next steps? Leslie, signing of documents. Yes, of course. All right, takes us to an adjournment. Entertain a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
We are adjourned. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Do a call vote? Oh, sorry. Tasha moved that we adjourn and Cindy seconded. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.